My biggest challenge is, of course, time, because the way it works, you kind of take like two steps forward, three steps back. I'm on AI like everyone else every day, and different AI, and always playing around and trying, getting frustrated where I was trying pretty basic projects, or I was trying to make a pretty basic project, and it seems like you get it someplace good and then you make a change and it kind of diverts to like a different version or something not where you thought you were. It gets a little frustrating.
Welcome to the Freight Forward podcast. I'm Matt Dixon, and we are going to talk tech and logistics. And we have Sammy Janowitz with us today, and he is with Unishippers, and he's been running this franchise for a few years. Sammy, thanks for joining us. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, sure. Thanks so much for having me. Yeah, I'm with Unishippers, and I do shipping. I get stuff from point A to point B for my customers, mainly in I'm going to name a lot of things. So in the parcel space, in the LTL space, less than trailer load. And then I do dedicated box trucks, sprinter vans, dry vans, everything in between. And then I also do some air and ocean freight as well.
Well, that's quite the mix. So you do a lot of last mile stuff, or where would you call that?
Yeah, I would mainly call it domestic parcel and LTL shipping.
Okay, excellent. So what got you into this space? Because if I remember correctly, you've gotten into this recently over the last few years. Is that correct?
Yeah, so I was in the space before. Essentially, this is the third job I've ever had, and I'll be 50 this year. So originally, I was in a family real estate construction business. We built master plan communities, and definitely there was a logistics component to that. A lot of coordination. Mainly, I was on the buy side and coordinating getting goods and materials, and then obviously tradesmen to put it all together. Then I was most recently for the last 12 years with an energy company, and we sold retail natural gas and power. And then I coupled that up with LED lighting. So we were very successful with a campaign where if you bought your power from us, we gave you free LED lighting. And I, with that, became a customer of Unishippers probably about closer to 10 years ago. And I'd looked to franchise 4 times over the last 10 years. It's probably more 11 or 12 years. But I never did it before because you really need to do it full time. You can't do it part time. And so I kind of ran my course with the energy company, we brought in private equity. They in turn brought in a new CEO, Houston based, started to build out the company out of Houston. I was in Houston every 3 weeks. And I just at the time couldn't move there full time. So I had to separate. And I was able to go right into Unishippers.
Yeah, you mentioned a lot of different things that you ship. How did you land on that variety? A lot of people like to get narrow, but it sounds like you've gotten wide.
So yeah, so what happens, right? So really my concentration is really parcel, which is, getting customers over from FedEx to UPS. But as a result, so many more customers do LTL, less than trailer load. So that becomes really the main ebb and flow. And then because obviously we give great pricing, but because the service is second to none, they want to dump all the other things that they do. So I should have mentioned day to day, I'm really not, or I don't have many customers that I just do, tractor trailers for 53-foot dry vans, and even less that I just do air or ocean. Typically, I serve the customer in either parcel and or LTL, and those are just add-ons that they get me to do because they have me there anyway.
I got it. So yeah, an add-on makes a lot more sense than going after all that different types of business. So what made you choose a franchise model over rolling your own or working with a carrier?
Yeah, great question. So a carrier doesn't work for me because I need as much variety as possible. Once you get out there and you're with a carrier, usually you have a strong suit of certain, areas. So you just wind up leaving money on the table essentially. So, I have customers all over I mean, all over the world, really, but just talking about the States, from California to New York and everywhere in between. So you need to have a strong network of regional carriers and so forth. And the franchise system specifically, as opposed to either direct sales or I'm drawing a blank, so we'll skip over it, but a not franchise model, I would say I'm trying to think of the name, and at any rate, the franchise just gives me the most, the ability to do the most lanes. And, that said, Unishippers is not the only franchise at town. I just feel like they had the best program for me.
Excellent. At least it's not the least worst. That's the bad part to be in, right? You don't want something that's the least worst when they're all bad options.
Right, right.
Yeah, glad you found something that's working for you. So what does a typical look like for you? Walk me through it. Or is there a typical?
Yeah, so one of the nice things is there really are no typical days, but at this point I try and block out time because so I start early, 7 a.m. Eastern. One of my bigger clients starts sending all their requests for pricing, all their quotes. So I'm busy with that. And then it's just, as I said, blocking time to, talk to current customers, find new customers, talk to internal sales teams, and then, talk to my service team and make sure we're getting back to customers with everything that they need.
So since you have a wide variety of stuff that you handle, how do you manage everything and not drop any balls?
Yeah, so that's a great question. I'm a big list guy and I'm a big communication guy. So you have to, and I'm a big just you got to get it out there and get it. Just don't put it on the back burner. Get it done right away. Stuff can get missed. I try and have stuff missed as little as possible, but it's mainly checklists and constantly going over the same items. And I print out all my BOLs, which I try and stop doing, but it's the ultimate fail safe. At the end of the day, I can go through and make sure everything's working the way it's supposed to work. But yeah, no, it's tough to manage, or can be tough to manage.
Yeah, interesting. It yeah, even managing like software projects, if I don't have a tool where I can see at a glance where everything is, I will mess things up and I'll forget things and they just won't get done in the order they need to.
Right. So that said, we have the My Unishippers dashboard, which is a tremendous TMS transportation management system. It's a wonderful tool. I'm more referring to the stuff before things are entered into the TMS, but yeah, no, you have to have systems and lists constantly. The other thing I get everything onto the Google Drive, and I'm constantly making notes and also making I'm gonna draw another blank. SOPs. I'm a big, with the lists are SOPs where they're just constantly living, breathing documents where through Google Drive, every time there's new information, getting it in there and working it into the SOP. That's just because, if I, God forbid, drop dead, someone's got to know how they could take over and do things and so forth.
Yeah, it almost sounds like you built a system before the system, right? Like a pre-system. You use this and then when you get it in your TMS, then you go for it that way. Is that what it sounds like?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I hate to say we're also on Salesforce, but that's kind of the back end of my Unishippers. But again, stuff has to happen before I put things into Salesforce at this point, because otherwise I just wind up having too much garbage in, garbage out.
I
I
see.
kind of siphon it. Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, I know one thing we talked about, you talked about bids and quotes and things like that, and you started working on a tool and then you got frustrated with the vibe coding. Tell me a little bit more about that. What was working and what didn't work and if you were to revisit that, what would that look like?
Yeah. So my biggest challenge is, of course, time. You need to like those projects are something you need to kind of do on a weekend or when you can't be bothered, because the way it works, you kind of take like, two steps forward, three steps back. And what I found with the AI, and I'm on AI like everyone else every day, and different AI, and always playing around and trying new things and different things. But yeah, I was definitely getting frustrated where I was trying pretty basic projects, or I was trying to make a pretty basic project, and it seems like you get it someplace good, and then you make a change, and it kind of diverts to like a different version or something not where you thought you were, and it gets a little frustrating. The other problem with the tools that I had were I was on originally a free version and then a paid version, and it becomes very frustrating when it's like you're using up all these credits for it to do not what you think you asked it to do. It just makes up something else, not makes up, but just goes in a different direction. And then you got to go back 2 steps to try and move forward. It becomes a little it can be
Yeah, for sure. Well, and with some of those different tools, it's not clear what a credit means, right? So you get, say, 100 credits a month. What's a credit versus like the AI specific, like Claude Code? You know exactly what you're getting, and you can see where you are anytime. So that's kind of interesting. But yeah, I have a beefy subscription for Claude Code, so I feel your pain a little bit, but at the same time, they're pretty good tools. So it's
yeah.
kind of
Yeah, no, it's kind of like that with AI. Like if you don't get a great result up front, it's so hard. Like I basically, will wind up just scrapping that and starting over or moving to a different AI or something. I'm in the
yeah,
process. Like I want to move from chat paid subscription over to Claude paid subscription. I just, again, you need the time to commit because I have project based stuff that I do that works. That's the other
sure.
cool thing is that you make projects, and then it becomes tricky also because you have so many projects for so many different things, and then you got to kind of remember which project to put where in, and then if you put too much in the project, it can work backwards. So it's tough. It's tricky trying to find that fine line, but where AI is now compared to where it was 3 years ago, compared to where it's going to be 3 years from now,
Yeah,
things will look a lot different.
for sure. I've seen a lot in the last 2 months with Claude Code. Night and day, completely different. So, one thing that I do is I have, like, levels of prompts. So, I don't just go and prompt for one thing. I'll have it do some research, whether it's building an app or writing content or having a landing page or whatever, and then I'll ask it to build the prompt, and then I'll use the prompt. So, it's kind of what it seems backwards. Like, why can't I just ask it? Because we don't know everything it does, and it doesn't know anything we do. So that back and forth is very valuable. That's one thing that I found that's been pretty useful.
Yeah.
So we talked a little bit about, where you came from, where you are. Let's talk a little bit about the future, like growth and sales. Like everyone's always looking for customers. I don't know any business that doesn't want more customers, right? So what does your process look like for customer acquisition?
Yeah, so I've done a lot of different things. The best thing that I have is essentially a dialed in and specific. I wouldn't even say it's a call room. It's a couple of folks in the Philippines, and they make outbound calls to say 150, 200 businesses every day, and they'll get, between 1 and 3 of them, and I will get the name, address, phone number, and a idea of what they're doing shipping wise to call out on. At this point, I don't actually call out on them. I give them to a salesman I have that will then call on those leads. He's also kind of put that on pause and built out to make himself a specialist in one area, that being automotive and used auto parts, generally speaking. And that's been the kick he's kind of been on. So I've been putting those leads kind of on the table. I've been tabling them and holding off and just compiling them for now for when he's ready to go back. So that's in a nutshell how I'm finding new customers. I'm also at the point where I'm getting referrals. So associates of current customer, a guy might leave and go to a new company, and then I'm still doing business with the old company and doing business brings me into the new company. Unishippers also provides leads, not frequent, but they're people that, make inquiries, and they cycle those through all of the franchises, and those are great. They're either great or duds. You either get traction immediately or you don't. So those are great
Those would
as
probably be the
well.
best because it's a hero or zero, right? You know, after the first contact if they're going to buy or not.
Well, yeah, they're looking for us is what happens in some of those instances. So those leads are great, but they're not as frequent as other ones.
Exactly. So what does the onboard processing look like for a new customer?
Yeah, we try and make it as seamless as possible. We try and get as much information from them beforehand. It also depends on what if they're a parcel, LTL, or both customer. If they're a parcel customer looking to onboard, it's a little bit more of a lengthy process because there's a ROE, or rules of engagement, that we have to go through with UPS, and then there's some timing issues. But LTL and the other modes, we'll get onboarded usually same day. It's just some quick, easy forms and routine stuff behind there.
Excellent. I like a good quick onboarding process, right? And seamless for the customer too. So have you looked into any AI tools for your onboarding or outbound sales?
So onboarding, not so much because, like I said, it's pretty basic, pretty easy. Like there's no, advantage well, I mean, there could be I'm sure one day there would be an advantage, but right now it's not like it's a time consuming task to a certain extent. But yeah, on the sales cycle, I've done an AI email campaign where we had, three major campaigns with three minor offshoots within each. So essentially nine campaigns going out on, I want to say we had like 18 different emails with three different domains, and it was pretty thorough, and wound up sending out, over the course of a few months, like 25,000 emails, and had some conversations, only had one meeting. That meeting, it just wasn't the right fit for both parties. Great meeting, like, still in contact with them. It's just not the right fit for either of us. It might be one day when they get to a certain point, but just not right now. So that was a cool experience, generally speaking, not, it's tough also because my ICP, my ideal customer profile, is tough to define. Times it's a business owner, sometimes it's an office manager, sometimes it's a CFO, sometimes it's a shipping manager. Every company is different. So, obviously you always want to be talking to the owner, but I've had plenty of instances where the owner's like, yeah, gee, go talk to Jimmy. And if he gives you the green light, we can use you. Other than that, I don't want to be bothered. Leave me alone. So then I've also worked on outbound calling with AI, mainly unsuccessful because the AI technology isn't there. One of the things which they're improving is latency, meaning the time it takes the AI to interpret the person on the other line talking and then to respond. The improvement that I've seen in the short time that I've been looking into it now, they start having AI where it'll be like, "Oh, hey, Matt. Oh, hey, excuse me. Oh, hey, it's Sammy here. I'm calling from Unishippers," to like trick the other person, and it has like different mannerisms, like just saying or coughing, sneezing, and breathing. Any of those they're incorporating into the AI, and it's really wild stuff, and it's really can trick you into thinking it's a real person versus AI. So that's pretty cool. So that's really the stuff I've done with AI on the sales cycle.
Yeah, I noticed I was working with one and it would start talking almost the instant I stopped talking, but it would just say kind of dumb stuff at first while it was working in the background. So the latency was still there. It just I didn't feel it. So that's kind of similar to what you were talking. That's kind of an interesting way to handle that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Looking ahead 6 to 12 months, what do you need to change to get to the next level that you want to get to?
Yeah, I don't know that I need to change that much, other than just continue rinse and repeat and keep doing what we're doing. At some point I'll need to bring on someone very directly to help with some of the admin cycle. of quoting and booking and that kind of stuff. So we're set up for, customers to be completely self-sufficient, and we just come in for check-in or problems or, issues or things like that. But some of our customers, we do quote through email, and some of them are larger customers, and they're not going to change the way they do business. So I had an interesting conversation with. That's the other cool thing with Unishippers. Generally speaking, everyone's very, everyone's like rooting for each other to do well. And I had a conversation with another franchise who's 18 years essentially in the business. And he's like, look, I'll onboard anyone. The intent is always to get them eventually shipping on their own through Unishippers, through the My Unishippers portal. So, but that said, there are customers that they're never going to do that. All the quotes, no matter how much they give you or don't give you, the quotes are always still going to go through email and so forth.
Yeah, email's the worst tracking system ever, but a lot of people use it.
Yeah. Yeah. No, agreed. It's tricky. I don't know what happens when they take it off of email, but yeah, my goal is to turn it around very quickly. So ideally in the next 3, 6 months or what have you, I'd like to have some kind of resource, but that's tricky also because you can't like there's just too many moving parts in the freight world to successfully train AI to be able to come up with every scenario. So ideally, it's a person, but there's also a lot of that's where the SOPs are very important because there's a lot of failure opportunities, on the input side, garbage in, garbage out.
Yeah, for sure. For email, there's a ton of AI tools out there that are pretty good. It'll at least categorize it for you, and then you can just focus on one folder or whatever, or one category. So that's kind of helpful. So what does winning look like for you and your franchise over the next 12 months?
Yeah, winning would look like bringing on another $1 million worth of business in this calendar year. That would be winning.
Excellent. Are you on track to do that, or what
Yeah,
goal?
yeah. No,
That's
thank
awesome.
God we're on track. We're looking good. Yeah.
Excellent. So is there anything else that you would have liked me to ask? Anything I missed?
No, it's pretty thorough, I think.
Well, so if people want to get a hold of you, what's the best way to do that?
Just give me a call, 516-322-6993, or email me, Sammy, Sammy, dot Janowitz, Janowitz.
Excellent. Sounds like you've said that a few times.
My whole life, I've been giving out my number and leaving it slow. Usually, I say the phone number twice because people don't realize it's coming. They grab a pen and then write it out slow,
Yeah,
but
at least
always.
they can rewind it here. But even with my last thing, I'd always say Dixon, Dixon, because they would invariably spell it all sorts of different ways.
Yeah,
Well, thanks.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, thanks for joining us. I really appreciate your time and your expertise. And this has been another episode of the Freight Forward podcast, and we'll catch you again next time.
Awesome. Thanks so much, guys.